evening. Good evening and welcome to this evening's regular meeting of the Twinsburg City Schools Board of Education. I would like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Lesnaya, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Crawford. Here. Mr. Favor.
Here.
Mrs. Travis. Here. Mrs. Davis. Here. Mr. Curtis.
Here. We're all here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I usually lead that, but I think the students in the audience took over for me. So consider yourselves proxies for President this evening. I don't believe that there are any addendums or changes to the agenda, so I'll move on to my President's report. Good evening, staff, community members, and families of Wilcox Primary School, R.B. George, sorry. Is it George Josh? I have to make some amendments to the report, excuse me. George D. Dodge Intermediate School and Twinsburg High School. I'm Mark Curtis, and I'm honored to be your board president. This evening, in addition to celebrating our Students of the Month, we will be recognizing our Lady Tigers soccer team and also volleyball team on their regular and postseason success. It goes without saying that we are very proud of what you've been able to accomplish this year. We'll also be recognizing head coach Mr. John Garber on first reaching 100 win milestone, and also he was voted as coach, Division I Coach of the Year recently as well. This achievement will go down as one of the greatest in Twinsburg sports history. Throughout the years, Coach Garber has been consistent in not only winning but fostering the leadership in his student athletes that is necessary in being successful beyond high school. I'd also like to recognize the head volleyball coach, Ms. Jess Rader, who was also voted Coach of the Year for the Suburban League. So I don't want to leave that out. Additionally, the Board of Education, along with central office staff, attend the annual Ohio School Boards Association Capital Conference, which is held in Columbus, Ohio. Now, while there, we were able to attend learning sessions, allowing us to increase our capacity to be effective board members. And we also were able to network with other board members throughout the state. While we were there, for the first time in a long while, we were featured as part of the Student Achievement Fair. Specifically, Mrs. Wilson was present to display and talk about the All Kids Bike program that she implemented, whereby students were able to learn how to ride bikes and learn other lessons at the same time. If you remember, when we were doing the meetings at the high school, we literally had kids on bikes riding on the stage. So she was able to present down at Capitol Conference, and we're very proud of her for that. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my board colleague, Rhonda Crawford, who is the Student Achievement Liaison for the board for the OSBA. She submitted the program for consideration, and we're very happy that she did that, and we hope to continue this trend in future years so the state really knows what's going on in Twinsburg City Schools. Finally, I'd like to thank the community for their overwhelming support in passing our renewal levy on November 8th. We sincerely appreciate all the support that you've given us over the years, and we do not take it for granted. That being said, and as I've reiterated in all of the meetings leading up to that, the renewal levy allows us to continue our current operations. It's not new money, but it's critical in our ability to kind of do the things that we're doing right now and sustain the programs that we have going right now. So we truly appreciate your support in that. I'd also like to congratulate Sam Scafidi on being elected mayor of Twinsburg, of the city of Twinsburg. We've always been good partners with the city, and we recognize that we need each other if we're going to continue to thrive as a community, and we look forward to working with them. So this concludes my president's report, and I will now turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Mrs. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Good evening, Board of Education. Good evening, families. We are excited to celebrate some awesome Tigers tonight. Lots to celebrate. Before we get to all that celebration, I do have a few things to mention. Board of Education, our fall newsletter should be in mailboxes within the next few days, family. So look forward to receiving them in your mailbox. We used to send these home as an insert in the Twinsburg Bulletin, but the Twinsburg Bulletin, the delivery hasn't been as great as it used to be. We were putting these in there and then we weren't getting to houses. And so we have switched how we're doing it, and you will receive this in your mailbox within the next week. We got them at the board office, and it tells me that they're out in the mail. So if you don't receive one, let the board office know, and we can drop it in the mail to you at your home address. I want to congratulate our Twinsburg High School Drama Club for their presentation or performance of One Stop Like Town. That was this past weekend under the leadership of Mr. Joshua Harris, and our casting crew did a fantastic job. It was a very delightful play. Hope you had a chance to check it out. But our drama club continues to grow and thrive, and the kids just had such a fantastic time performing One Stop Like Town. So again, congratulations to them. Mr. Curtis, thank you for congratulating and thanking the community for our 6.9 mil renewal levy. We were absolutely delighted last Tuesday. It feels a lot longer ago than that, I have to tell you. But I also want to thank the leadership of the Blue Ribbon Schools Committee, Mr. Walt Hoffman, who represented the city of Reminderville, Mr. Seth Roden, who represented the city of Twinsburg, Mr. Keith Harris, who represented the Twinsburg Township area, and then Steve Cribley, who represented actually as our treasurer. So we thank them for their leadership. We thank you for your support of our students, and we just look forward to rolling up our sleeves and continuing to provide our students with the very best opportunities from preschool all the way up to grade 12. I'm sure I don't have to remind everyone, but next week is Thanksgiving, and boys and girls, you don't have school next Wednesday, next Thursday, or next Friday, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with your family doing some pretty cool things holiday-wise. And so just remind your mom and dad on Tuesday night you don't have to get up for school Wednesday, a week from now, because it's a holiday. And we hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Winter sports season and the holiday concerts are just around the corner. Our students have been very busy all the way up the pipeline from our smallest kiddos at Wilcox all the way through the high school. So please check our district website for the latest dates and times for all of our concerts and for winter sports, which will kick off here just in a very brief amount of time. So we're going to start tonight's celebration of our students actually with our athletes. Mr. Fantone, who is our director, our athletic director and coordinator of K-12 student activities, and Mr. Brian Lynn, our high school principal, are here. And we have Lady Tigers to celebrate. They've had a fantastic season, both our volleyball students, athletes, as well as our Lady Tigers soccer team. So we're going to ask them to come forward. So it's really important, I think, for our young Tigers to see the success that our Lady Tigers have felt this fall season. So without further ado, Mr. Fantone and Mr. Lynn.
Whatever you want. This is fine. Girls, take your coats off. Show off those nice shirts you have. Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Thank you, Board of Education, for having us here tonight. Really excited to be able to recognize two of our varsity sports this year who achieved incredible things for Twinsburg High School, the first of which is standing up on stage right now. This is our Twinsburg High School varsity volleyball team. This year, our Lady Tiger varsity volleyball team finished their season with a record of 19-5 overall, securing the first league championship in school history. Whether that be Twinsburg High School or even back to the days when it was R.B. Chamberlain High School, we had never won a league championship in volleyball until this group of girls right here did it this year in 2022. In addition to being Suburban League champions, they also won the championship at the Chagrin Falls Invitational back in September and took third place overall at the Mayfield tournament the first weekend in October. In the OHSA tournament, they advanced to the district semifinals after defeating Stowe in the sectional championship game, ultimately losing an extremely competitive match
to Walsh Jesuit High School. Haley Williams and Kendall Matlock led the Tigers as the only two seniors on the roster this season. Haley received First Team All-District and First Team All-Suburban League honors. Kendall was also First Team All-Suburban League. Both athletes will be participating in the District 3 All-Star Game this Friday night at Ravenna High School. Junior Genevieve Talentino, we can clap for that, yep. Junior Genevieve Talentino was recognized as a member of the second team All-Suburban League, and juniors Claire Grossell and Brooke Smith received honorable mention honors in the Suburban League. Coach Rader could not be here tonight because she's at a grad class and she has a no tolerance policy from her professor with being at grad classes, so she's sorry she couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted me to express her gratitude for the support that this entire community gave our Lady Tiger volleyball team throughout the season. Obviously, this is the start of something great in this program. These girls put a ton of work in to get us to where we are right now. We're only graduating 2 seniors, so the sky's the limit for what they can do in the next few years here. Congratulations, Lady Tigers.
Board of Education, I think this is a great photo op for you, and Mr. Lynn and Mr. Bantel, go on up. If you wouldn't mind posing with our Lady Tigers, we'll get a nice photo.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Thank you. No, we don't. But thank you. I want to say, too, while they're still in the room, and I wanted to say this in general about all of our sports, we had our fall sports banquet last night at the high school, and the most incredible part of our banquet last night, and Mr. Lynn can attest to this because he went up in the balcony and took the picture, we had over 250 student athletes from our fall sports team up on stage at once, who all had achieved a 3.5 GPA or higher during the quarter of fall sports season. So 250 of our varsity athletes, freshmen, JV, everybody up on stage. Can we get the girls soccer team in next? We'll get it really crowded in here now. You guys are more than welcome to stay where you can leave, but thank you very much for being here, girls. There.
Thank you. Thank you. I need all the help I can get some days. It takes a village. It takes a village.
Coats off. Coats off. Right, like, yeah, however you want to do it. Either way. Yeah. Scoot this way a little bit. Yep. Yep. Okay, so at this time, we'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the excellence and the truly incredible season that the Twinsburg Lady Tiger girls soccer team had this season. The girls soccer team finished the regular season undefeated for only the third time in school history with an overall record of 13 wins, 0 losses, and 3 ties. The Lady Tigers finished the regular season ranked 7th in the entire state of Ohio in girls Division I soccer, which is an outstanding achievement. The Lady Tigers were outright Suburban League Conference champions with a conference record of 4-0-2, and they won their 3rd straight OHSAA district championship with a 5-1 victory over Glen Oak. For the 3rd straight year, the Lady Tigers advanced to the regional semifinals, known as the Sweet 16, in the entire state of Ohio, ultimately falling by a score of 2-1 against Walsh Jesuit at Menor High School in an extremely competitive and nerve-wracking match. Recognition and awards for the Lady Tigers this year. The team earned the All-Ohio Academic Team Award with a team GPA of 3.77, which is outstanding. Jaden Harris and Brenna Utrup were both named 2nd team All-State in the entire state of Ohio. The Greater Cleveland Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association had honorable mentions Bree Bannock, Jackie McKenna, and Olivia Zelenka, with 2nd team All-District going to Araya Gilmer, and 1st team awards going to Alexis Salura, Jaden Harris, and Brenna Utrup. In the Suburban League, honorable mention awards went to Bree Bannock and Jackie McKenna, and 2nd team award to Olivia Zelenka, while 1st team awards were given to Alexis Salura, Araya Gilmer, Jaden Harris, and Brenna Utrup. All Ohio Academic Awards, which are given to seniors who have maintained a cumulative GPA over 3.7 for all 4 years of high school, went to Annika Banerjee, Alexis Salura, Ryan Cummings, Lauren Glessman, Jaden Harris, Taya Jimenez, Tyra Johnson, Jackie McKenna, Sophie Roden, Emily Turl, Brenna Utrup, and Olivia Zelenka. Outstanding. And last but certainly not least, and I know that I embarrassed him big time last night, our head coach, John Garber, who is a great friend of mine. We've had tons of ups and downs over the years with, all the girls soccer teams that have come through Twinsburg, and I can't say that there's a better coach out there than who John Garber is. Coach Garber was voted Suburban League Coach of the Year. He was voted the Greater Cleveland Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association District Girls Division I Soccer Coach of the Year, and he was voted the Ohio Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association Girls Division I Soccer Coach of the Year in the entire state of Ohio. On top of all that this year, in the district championship game when we defeated Canton Glen Oak 5-1, Coach Garber in only 7 seasons, achieved 100 career wins as the head girls soccer coach here at Twinsburg, which is an incredible feat in 7 years. Coach Garber's overall record with Twinsburg High School is 100, 23, and 14, and we're looking forward to the next 100. Congratulations, Coach Garber. And I always pressure him into that. I know his kids are good. There's going to be 100 more and a lot more than that. Congratulations, Coach Garber. Congratulations to our outstanding, incredible girls soccer program. Great job.
I know our Board of Education would love a photo with all of you wonderful student athletes. Maybe 2 rows.
being responsible, respectful, caring, and safe, and being all around good leaders. So, boys and girls, when I call your name, you're going to come on up here, and you're going to get a certificate and a pin, and stay up here on the stage, and people will clap for you. And I'm going to share just a few words of what their teachers had to say about them. So first up, we have Miles Fosno in Mrs. Fink's class. Come on up, Miles. Mrs. Fink says that Miles is an amazing student. He's always responsible, respectful, caring, and safe, making him the perfect candidate. Student of the month. Miles is a classroom helper to everyone. He says kind words when we need them and goes the extra step to make the work is done just right. Wilcox rocks because of Miles. Our next student is Michael Maghew, Mr. Scalero's class. Michael is always polite and respectful, and he looks amazing tonight. He is a very hard worker who participates in class and always willing to help his classmates. He's an amazing artist and he always does his best on classwork, homework, and projects. He has a very positive attitude towards school and life and is always wanting to learn more and do better at everything he attempts. Keep up the great work, Michael. Our next student is Keegan Reynoso in Mrs. Kane's class. Keegan was nominated by Mrs. Kane because she's an excellent role model. She shows the 4 character traits of Wilcox, teaching their cubs. Keegan is responsible when she does her homework and comes to reading group prepared. She is respectful to her classmates and Mrs. Kane when she pays attention to the lessons. She is caring towards her classmates and is always ready to lend a helping hand. Keegan follows safety rules and always remember to push in her chair. Keegan rocks. Next up is Leah Smith in Mrs. Scalero's class. Leah is an excellent first grade student. She comes to school prepared to learn every day. She is responsible. She always has her homework done. She is respectful. She always raises her hand to share. She is caring. She listens to her friends. And lastly, she is safe. She uses her school materials safely in class. Leah is a great example of a first grader. Mrs. Scalero is very proud of you. Next up, kindergartner Anthony Bowman in Mrs. Ritz's class. Anthony is a great example of what it means to be an excellent student at Wilcox. He is hardworking, focused, and always tries his best. He is a great role model to other students and is caring and always the first to help a friend in need. He comes to school with a positive attitude, a great smile, and ready to learn. Next, we have Harlow Chambers in Mrs. Iani's class. Come on up, Harlow. Harlow is a wonderful student who comes to school each day ready to learn. She is kind to her classmates, listens to directions the first time they are given, and is respectful to all. She is a great example of our Wilcox Pledge, and it is an honor to nominate her. Congratulations, Harlow. Next up is Owen Crawford in Mrs. Hannah's class. Owen is a helpful peer model to one of our classmates. He always takes the time to help his classmate before himself. Owen comes in each day so happy and always uses his manners. Owen rocks. Next is Carmela Ritley in Mrs. Perro's class. Carmela comes to school with that smile on her face every day. She is hardworking and always does her best. It is easy to see that she has a love for learning. She takes pride in her work and goes above and beyond to learn everything possible. Mrs. Perro is extremely proud of Carmela, as she is a wonderful role model that makes Wilcox rock. Chemeleov in Mrs. Miller's class. Liel is a caring and compassionate kiddo with a big heart. She is the first to help a student in need of the classroom. Whether someone needs help hanging their backpack on their locker or needs extra help with their classwork, Liel steps up and helps her friends succeed. She has kind manners and treats peers and staff with respect and love. Wilcox totally rocks because of Liel. Next up, we have preschooler Reese Ballard in Mrs. Cyric's class. Mrs. C says Reese is a kind and caring student. She is first to offer a hand to a friend in need. Reese works every day to be courteous and helpful in the classroom. She is encouraging, thoughtful, and happy. Her smile just lights up the room. There it is. Wilcox rocks because of Reese. Next up, we have Emma Gladys in Mrs. Fierro, Mrs. D, and Mrs. Mustar's class. Come on up, Emma. Mrs. Fierro says that Emma is a wonderful example of those around her. She is kind and gentle and has amazing dress on tie. She is super patient and understanding with others. She loves to learn and is always contentious and careful when she does her work. Emma has come into her voice this year and will quietly but firmly stand up for herself and others. Emma is a fantastic and we love having her in class. And last up, Viviana Rocha in Mrs. Ligozinski's class. Vivi is a kind and hard worker. She is attentive to the needs of her friends in the classroom. She is conscientious about her schoolwork and how she interacts with her friends in the classroom. She wants to make sure that everyone has a good experience while at school. Vivi likes to have fun and try new things. For all these reasons, Vivi helps Wilcox rock. Excellent. So boys and girls, if you could hold your certificates up just like you are in front of you. And this is a great opportunity for moms and dads and teachers to get a picture.
They're bringing her down for the group. Yay!
There we go.
Thank you, boys and girls, so much, and congratulations. Keep up the great work, and we'll see another round of Wilcox Rock students in January. So if you guys can go have your seats, thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Dodge Intermediate School under the direction of Reggie Holland.
So if you will wait a second until we can transition the families for Wilcox out and
Thank you for
invite
being
the
here
other
this evening, Wilcox families. Have a great time.
families of Dodge in.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dodge Student of the Month. It's an honor to be in front of our Board of Education, our superintendent, and families. Before we get started, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things from since the last time we were here. We've had really great support this last month from our PTA. The father-daughter dance, which was about a week ago, was exciting and tremendous. I was proud to see all the fathers that are here and supporting us, their students through the father-daughter dance. Again, we had over 400 participants in that dance, which is a great sign of how our community comes together to support our students. Also, tomorrow is our kindness bus, so ask your students about the kindness bus. We are encouraging them to wear their Tiger Day shirts, so if they're not clean, we have to get them clean. But the students will have an opportunity to see a presentation on how we respect each other and how we support each other, and it's all part of our PBIS initiative. So at this time, we'll let our student council get ready to share the students of the month.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be here to help present with the 6th grade student council our November students of the month. And I just want to say these young ladies worked extremely hard the last 2 days. We all met together in the conference room and we went over what it looks like to speak in front of a large crowd, and that's something that is very difficult to do, especially for a 6th grade student. So please give them a round of applause before we begin. And I'm going to hand it over to Miss Samantha.
Good evening, Twinsburg Board of Education, Twinsburg families and faculty. My name is Samantha Rocco, and I'm a 6th grade student council representative at George D. Dodge Intermediate School.
Hello everyone, my name is Nalea Mills and I'm also a 6th grade student council member. At our school, Dodge, we pride ourselves on being respectful, responsible, and safe. Recently, our students were rewarded for exhibiting those qualities by being able to shop at our school club cart. It was awesome to see my peers smiling and being recognized in a positive way.
Hi, my name is Sophia Corbin, and I am also a 6th grade student council representative. We are so excited to be a part of this special presentation tonight.
Good evening. My name is Amelia Treehouse, and I am also a 6th grade student council representative. Tonight, we are going to honor our fellow schoolmates who have been nominated as November Student of the Month.
First up, Mr. Wyrick, 6th grade teacher, nominates Aaliyah Edwards. Aaliyah has consistently been an ideal student since the beginning of the school year. She puts into practice character traits of respect, safety, and responsibility on a daily basis. She is kind, friendly, and polite to all students and staff. Great job, Aaliyah.
Next, Ms. Kotzman, 6th grade teacher, nominates Adam McLean. I can always rely on Adam to keep me on schedule. He is so polite when he shows his responsibility of time management. Awesome job, Adam.
Mr. Velbeck, physical education teacher, nominates Malin King. Malin has been selected of his extraordinary level of respect for his peers, teachers, and learning community. He consistently listens attentively during instruction with his eyes on the speaker. His behavior shows that he values others and not is only focused on the needs of himself. Keep being respectful, Malin.
Mrs. Yambor, our teacher, nominates Lillian Latchman. Lillian's artistic talents are extremely obvious through her work. I can tell she has great ambition to practice the arts outside of class because of her skill level. She always has amazing work ethic and always gives it her all. Great job, Lillian.
Miss Latch, 4th grade teacher, nominates Gavin Bear. Gavin is an excellent role model for his peers. He is respectful to everyone he encounters. He responsibly does all of his work and strives to do well. He is kind and hardworking. Gavin has 99% dojo rating, putting him at one of the highest students on the team. Wow, that's amazing. Great job, Gavin.
Miss Jackson, fourth grade teacher, nominates Jada Williams. Jada is a sweet young lady who works hard. She is very focused in the classroom to get her work done and always strives to do her best. Jada has a 98 dojo report, making her one of the highest in the classroom. She is kind, helpful, and her teachers love her smile. Keep on smiling, Jada. Great work.
Mrs. Schmock, sixth grade teacher, nominates Kira Walker. Kira is a kind and respectful student. She is helpful to her peers when she sees them struggling, and she always has a positive attitude. She is a member of the Principal's Stripe Committee because she is an excellent role model and has great ideas for what a positive school environment should look like. Awesome job, Kira.
Mrs. Zirak, fifth grade teacher, nominates Benjamin Daniels. Benjamin enjoys playing learning games in the classroom and actively seeks out other students to play with him. He is very wonderful and patient in teaching others how to play and encourages them to do their best. He comes to school each day with a positive attitude and smile on his face. Great work, Benjamin.
Miss Mighton, fifth grade teacher, nominates Jessica Alfred. Jessica has gone above and beyond with her projects and activities to demonstrate her mastery of the content. She also willingly shares items with others when they need it. Her positivity is infectious. Great job. Good job, Jessica.
Miss McEldowney, fourth grade teacher, nominates Channing Cross. Channing has been doing a great job being a team player in the classroom and helping others around him. He is always making good choices and showing others how to be respectful and responsible in the classroom. He has also been getting A's on all of his spelling tests. Keep being awesome, Channing.
And that concludes Dodge's November Student of the Month. Please join me in giving the sixth grade student council members and our November Student of the Month nominees a big round of applause. And students, we are going to take a photo. So if you can just hold your certificate below your face and put on a big smile.
So I just wanted to say how proud I am of not only our Students of the Month, but also our presenters. Again, it's such a difficult task for them to speak in front of them. They did a fantastic job. At this time, we would like to turn the program over to the high school and Mr. Lane.
Okay, so if you want to exit to the far left door, we'll invite the high school kids to come in on the right.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dodge families. Enjoy the
Thank
holiday.
you.
Those four girls did an excellent job. That was one of the best.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
We got enough.
Get ready. Good evening, Superintendent Powers, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and distinguished guests. Thank you so much for being here this evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak before you tonight. As you can see, this evening our sports teams we have so many sports teams that we honor tonight. We've been busy closing out the fall sports season, and winter sports are now underway. Yesterday evening, as Mr. Fantone referenced, we hosted our fall sports banquet, and there was standing room only on the stage at Twinsburg High School as so many students received their Scholar Athlete Awards. This past month at Twinsburg High School, we focused on our student leadership groups. I recently met with our principal's advisory group and discussed what makes students feel truly safe at Twinsburg High School each day. Last week on Veterans Day, our newly formed Student Athletic Leadership Council welcomed former Ohio State head football coach and current Youngstown State University president, Jim Tressel. President Tressel discussed the impact of being a selfless leader and detailed to our athletes that progression in athletics and life is not linear. He also spoke about the fact that a person and athletes are defined by how they encounter and manage adverse circumstances. On Friday, November 11th, we were able to celebrate all of our staff members' families and loved ones who served and are currently serving in the military by reading their names, years of service, and branch of military on the announcements. As Mrs. Powers referenced, we recently had our fall drama production, One Stoplight Town, which was fantastic. Joshua Harris, our director, did a great job with our students. And today, our sophomore students, A through K, visited CVCC on their annual field trip to gain interest and garner interest in their programs. Tomorrow, the second half of our sophomore class will be going, and I heard the field trip was fantastic. This evening, I'm excited to be here tonight to read our Tiger Strong Students of the Month. These students were nominated. We kind of did a discount double check this evening because we had so many of our student athletes here, and we asked for our nominations from Coach Garber and Coach Rader because we knew our ladies would be here. We have two that are unable to be here because they're continuing on with winter sports, so they won't be here. But I am going to read these fantastic nominations, a little bit about our students, and they'll have their Student of the Month certificate. So our first student athlete is unable to be here tonight is Sophie Attic. Sophie is a 12th grade student. She's a 3-sport varsity athlete. She suffered a season-ending ACL injury during her scrimmage against Westlake. Sophie has been unbelievably supportive and committed to her team and teammates during her long recovery. She's in the process of returning to compete with the varsity basketball team. Sophie is a member of student council and maintains above a 3.5 cumulative GPA. I asked the students a few questions about each one of them. Sophie states she's a member of the varsity soccer team, captain of the basketball team, track. She's a member of the Taylor Swift Club, and captain of her, that is a thing. She's a member of her, by the way, a lot of the ladies here tonight are in the Taylor Swift Club. And she's captain of her Cleveland Cobras team. She would like to thank her parents, Jeff and Katie Attic, and thanks her sisters, Gretchen and Carolyn. Sophie loves sociology with Ms. Forster. She's planning on studying, her favorite subjects are business and marketing. And one interesting fact that she would like to state about herself is she tore her ACL in August of this year, and she's trying to play b-ball. And she says, in parentheses, wish me luck. So let's give Sophie a round of applause, even though she's going to be here. She's at Chagrin Falls tonight for her basketball scrimmage. Our next student of the month is Ryan Cummings. Come on, Ryan. So a funny story about Ryan. I saw her at the Scholar Athlete Bank at the Fall Sports Award banquet last night. She said, "Who nominated me for Student of the Month? You know I take like one class here at Twinsburg High School." So Ryan takes some CCP classes, but she's a fantastic young lady. Coach Garber states for Ryan that she has started all 20 matches for us this fall at defense. She helped lead our defense to 12 shutouts, conceding only 11 goals against all season. Ryan was recognized by the GCSSCA as an All-Ohio Academic Award winner for maintaining a cumulative GPA over 3.75 throughout her high school career. Ryan was a member of the Senior Homecoming Court, NHS, and is a positive leader within our program. Ryan states that she's a member of girls soccer, NHS, and the National Spanish Honor Society. She'd like to thank her parents, coaches, and teachers. Her favorite subject is English. She plans to attend Ohio University and major in psychology. And an interesting fact about Ryan is she has 2 golden doodles. Congratulations, Ryan. Our next student of the month is Lauren Glessman. You can stay up there. You're okay. Oh, you're good. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. It's Lauren Glessman. Lauren is a senior. She's a 3-sport varsity athlete. She is a member of the student council, was recognized by the GCSSCA as an All-Ohio Academic Award winner for maintaining a cumulative GPA over 3.75 throughout her high school career. Lauren is a member of NHS and is an excellent role model and teammate. Lauren is a member, of course, of the Ladies Tigers soccer team, Lady Tigers basketball team, and that's why she can't be here this evening, track and field, and Interact Club. She would like to thank her parents, her coaches, and her teachers. Her favorite subjects are math and science, and after high school, she plans to attend college and major in environmental science. Although she didn't list an interesting fact about herself, she would like to state that Mr. Lynn is her favorite principal. So congratulations to you. Our next student of the month is Claire Grissel. Claire, come on up. Claire was nominated by Coach Rader. Claire is a member of several extracurriculars and taking a challenging class load. She played through an injury to finish the season. Claire earned a 4.167 GPA and is a scholar athlete of the Suburban League. Claire states that she plays varsity and club volleyball. Her clubs include Student Council, Pep Club, and the Taylor Swift Club, the Now Women's Empowerment Club, and Art Club. She would like to thank her parents for raising her to always try her best in every area of her life. She would also like to thank all of her teachers that have taught me not only important skills in the classroom, but valuable life lessons that she applies to her everyday life. Some of her most memorable teachers she would like to thank are Mr. Schultz from 5th grade, Mr. Merriman from 9th grade, and Mrs. Teeter from 10th grade. Her favorite subject or class area at THS has always been English. Her future plan after she leaves high school is to continue her academics at a university. And an interesting fact about Claire is that her favorite movie is Pride and Prejudice. Spoken like someone who loves English. Fantastic. Congratulations, Claire. Our next student of the month is Emerson Muth. Come on up, Emerson. Congratulations. Emerson is an 11th grader at THS. She earned a 3.5 GPA, scholar athlete of the Suburban League. She's a positive member of the team and the larger school community. Emerson is always looking for opportunities to be helpful and to volunteer whenever she has time. Emerson states that she's a member of high school and club volleyball, the principal's advisory group, and the yearbook. She would like to thank her mom and her dad and her sister Madison. Her favorite subject is government. She plans to attend college while majoring in marketing or biochemistry. And one interesting fact about Emerson is she is in the process of getting her boating license, and she likes to boat with her family and friends. Congratulations. And last but not least, Julia Rodick. Come on up, Julia. Julia is an 11th grader, was nominated by Coach Rader. She always goes the extra mile to help her classmates and teammates. She's a determined athlete, and she holds herself to a high standard both on and off the court. Julia earned a 4.14 GPA for the first quarter. She's a scholar athlete of the Suburban League. Julia is a member of volleyball, of course, and the Taylor Swift Club. She would like to thank her parents, Joy and Russ Rodick, her sister Emily, and Coach Rader for always challenging and encouraging her to do her best. She really enjoys psychology and anatomy. She plans to go to college and major in biological sciences and later go on to medical school. And one interesting fact about Julia is she has been a Girl Scout since kindergarten, and she is currently working on her Golden Award project. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to the Twinsburg High School Students of the Month. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Okay. We're going to get on to next portion of our meeting, the committee reports. Do we have any updates for any committees, or do committees meet since last board meeting? None? Okay. All right, so that being said, we'll move on to the administrative report, where we'll have a presentation of the 5-year forecast by our treasurer, Mrs. Resniak.
Good evening, Twinsburg Board of Education, Twinsburg parents, and wonderful students. Wow, what a beautiful evening. How do I even follow in those footsteps of the presentation? It was so cute. And I really like the idea of the student council of the 6th grade presenting the students. It was very nice, but I am honored tonight to bring in front of you the district forecast. Why do we have a district 5-year forecast? It is required by the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Administrative Code, as shown in my presentation. They require the Board of Education to submit a 5-year forecast projection of operational revenues and expenditures along with assumptions to the Ohio Department of Education twice a year, basically by the end of November, and an update by the end of May of each fiscal year. Not all funds that the district have go in the forecast. What goes in the forecast are the general funds, any special cost center associated with general fund money, emergency levies, 016 funds, and any debt service bond funds, 002. The purpose and objective of the forecast is to engage the Board of Education and the community in long-range planning and discussions of financial issues facing the school district. It also serves as a basis to determine the school district's ability to sign the certificate, which is required by ORC Code 5705.412, commonly known as the Certificate of 412 Certificate. And to provide a method for the Ohio Department of Education and the auditor of the state to identify school districts that can possibly have potential financial problems and issues. Before we get to the numbers, a financial forecast, in my opinion, is somewhat like a painting of the future as we look forward and as we plan forward as a team of what do we need and how we plan on moving forward with information that we have at this point in time. The five-year forecast is viewed as a key management tool and should be updated again, at least submitted to Department of Education twice a year. In a financial forecast, the numbers only reflect the numbers, but we have assumptions, notes that go with the forecast. So in order to really understand the numbers, we have to read the assumptions that are put together that basically bring us to those numbers. The five-year forecast encourages the district management teams to examine future years' projections and identify when challenges will arise. And this helps the district management, administration, the Board of Education to be proactive in meeting those challenges. Key line items to look at the five-year forecast is basically put together from two sections, revenues and expenditures. The district revenue is made up of two main resources, local and state funding. and the expenditures are mainly salaries and wages, benefits, purchase services, supplies, and materials. Forecast overview. House Bill 166, the state budget initially froze funding at fiscal year 19 levels for fiscal year 20 and 21. Then when COVID happened, basically in the last 3 months of fiscal year 20, some budget cuts occurred by the state for fiscal year 20 and 21 in the general funds. May 6, 2020, due to COVID, basically for those 2 years, we lost a total of $1,748,500, which equals to about 1.71 mils for our district. Fiscal year 22 to 26, the new Fair School Funding Plan under House Bill 110 restored us to fiscal year 19 funding levels as part of the guarantees, which was implemented again on July 1st under the Fair School Funding Plan. We are a formula district on the state budget funding model. There are 258 school districts in the state of Ohio that are on a guaranteed. We are one of the formula districts. That's how we receive our state monies. Property tax collections during COVID, very positive, and good news, did not fall behind, so they are not delinquent. In fact, we are collecting at 100% with very minimal delinquencies. Our tangible personal property, TPP state reimbursement is basically the major hit to our school district and numerous other districts in the state. The reimbursement of personal tangible property continues. It stopped basically for our school district last fiscal year in 22. We still received $846,170. But that stopped right there. We will have no more this fiscal year or any time in the future. I would like to probably stop for a second and talk a little bit about what tangible personal property is, because it had such a major effect on our school district with our finances, and we are feeling the results of losing those funds, and we will be feeling them even more so going forward. Tangible personal property tax applies to property used in businesses in Ohio, was gradually phased out with a decision of the General Assembly in 2005. The tangible personal property tax can be traced back to 1846. Again, 1846, they had tangible property tax when the Ohio General Assembly enacted a law requiring that all property in Ohio be taxed by uniform rules. Since 1931, state law has limited the tax to machinery, inventory, furniture, fixtures, and other equipment used in the course of conducting business. In 2005, when the phase-out was introduced to stop the tangible personal property taxes in order to get more businesses in the state of Ohio, basically, the school districts and institutions, state institutions, were given a reimbursement for those lost tax monies. But the problem is, since 2005, we have been receiving them until now, and now they're gone. And so it was a phase out over the years. Every single year we had less and less. And I have some numbers here to just kind of show and reflect. In 2015, the school district received almost $7 million in this property tax. In 2019, we received $3,108,000. So we can all see what huge funds were lost by our school district over the years, and individually every single year, and we have nothing to replace them right now. So these are substantial revenue losses to our district, and the increases that we're getting in the state foundation are extremely small, not even close to anything to what we lost. With the drop of personal tangible property reimbursement, our revenue over the 5-year forecast is essentially hardly growing anything, while expenses with inflation and everyday living are growing at 3.5% average each year. I have a graph here to reflect revenues versus expenditures. We started spending more than what we're receiving in fiscal year 20. Unfortunately, there is not too much good news for our district financially at this point in time. Line 601 in the forecast is a key line to be keeping our eyes on. It's basically showing the deficit spending. In 2020, we had $319,000. We spent more than what we received, and that increased to over $3 million in 2021, and then $4 million in 22, and so forth. Again, the tangible personal property reimbursement is a major reason for this deficit that we're facing. This graph represents how much and where are our monies coming from. So basically, more than 80% we rely on our community and our taxpayers. The state is currently giving us only about 19.4% of our revenues for the district. As we can all see, it is very minimal, yet it is very helpful still. My next slide is ending cash balance, which does include the renewal levy that we just had passed last week. 30 to 60-day cash balance is a responsible target to end each fiscal year with, so we're talking June 30th cash balances on the forecast. It is also recommended by the Government of Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, for each school district to have as a target 30 to 60 days cash balance. What does that mean? 30 days cash is close to $6 million for our districts to function. Basically, it's 5.3, 5.6, depending on the month and what checks we have to issue, includes the 2 payrolls and all other obligations, accounts payable. So we basically need close to $6 million to be able to function for 30 days. So if we do the calculation, 30 to 60-day cash balance should be between $6 and $12 million at any given time at the end of the fiscal year. And in 2025, based on our current forecast, we will be going negative. We will have less than zero cash balance, which is not allowed by the law. And after that, it's just getting worse. This graph shows, again, the local versus state funding. It's just easy for the eye to see of how much the state is helping us. Are the yellow bars, and the red bars are what our taxpayers and residents are supporting us with for the operations of the school district. I will repeat here that state foundation was cut by almost $1.5 million over 2 years in fiscal year 20 and 21. So that's another hit that we took. Yes, we did receive ESSER money, but those do not come into the forecast calculation. They were given, the grants are usually given for certain purpose, so you have to follow those purposes of which you receive the grant money for in order to spend them. We are doing the forecast for the next 5 years basically at the level of fiscal year 19 because that's where the state foundation returned. So, and fiscal year 19 basically was very close to fiscal year 17. So we're talking of a span of 10 years here, fiscal year 17 to 27, where our state support is basically staying almost flat. Our challenges with our operating revenues, the district has a revenue growth problem. Less than 1% a year is our growth, and there is no real source of any other revenue growth that we're seeing at this point in time. However, many districts in the state are facing the same, so it's a general problem across the state. Local tax revenue the growth is almost null without the new levy. House Bill 166, new state budget for fiscal year 20 and 21, again, had a huge hit on our district. We had student wellness money. I mentioned ESSER money before. The student wellness money, Fund 467, was also not the general money, just like the ESSER funds are not. And our expenses are growing at 3.5 times faster than our revenues. Our expenditures, pie chart here, reflecting that we are basically a people business, and most of our cost is the wages and benefits. They total about 84.7%. And first, of course, the highest cost, about 59% of our expenses are wages, and 25.7% follow the second highest cost in benefits to our employees. This is a chart showing our expenditures by object. So there would be wages, benefits, purchase services, materials, and capital, and other expenditures. Our revenue stagnation is the major part of our financial issue. To recap what I have just reviewed, basically, what are we facing right now is the $1.4 million loss that we lost over recent 2 years. The state funding level basically staying over 10 years at fiscal level 19. We do not see anything promising that would tell us that we will receive more in the future from the state foundation. The personal property, tangible personal property reimbursements, which we lost as of last year, they're not coming back. There's nothing to replace those reimbursements. We're going to have additional costs with College Credit Plus, special education, scholarship, and community schools. they're expected to increase our costs going forward with the new state budgets and how they're done. Revenue growth, again at 1%, while expenses 3.5 times more. It's not sustainable. House Bill 208 phased out the tangible personal property reimbursement in fiscal year 22, and what we're facing is basically that we will need to reduce cost, increase revenues any way that we can, or a combination of both long term if we are to remain financially solvent. Future action steps regarding the forecast and the finances of the district, Board of Education and Administration to engage in future discussions to come up with fiscally responsible solutions and see what can be done. Thank you so much for your attention. Any questions?
So for the ESSER funds, am I correct that they are only going to be available until September 2024?
Correct. And at the beginning of this school year, we had $1.4 million left altogether from all three ESSER funds in ESSER 3.
Oh, okay. And then
we're expecting to spend most of that, probably over $1 million this year. We might have just about $400,000 left, depending on how certain purchase services are going to go.
okay, so 1.4 available for us until September 2024.
Correct.
Highly restricted.
Yeah.
Highly restricted.
Which was what I was coming to next. I guess it's not to clarify, not to use at our own discretion because they're limited in how we can use them. Has nothing to do with the general fund or operating expenses. It's just, and it's, I mean, it's definitely benefit our students, but it's not sustainable because it has an end date basically.
Correct. And there's nothing to be given after they're gone. We are not aware at this point in time of anything else that would be coming our way.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Of course.
Yeah, so just a couple of points. Prior to when Mrs. Rosnaya started as our treasurer, we took the initiative to have a third party come in and review our 5-year forecast for purposes of when we were transitioning from Mr. Aho to Mrs. Rosnaya. We wanted to make sure that, you know, our books were reviewed for purposes of when she stepped in. A third party was able to objectively kind of look at our 5-year forecast, and we had 2 organizations come in to do that, one of which actually did a public presentation and kind of went into that's probably one of the most comprehensive overviews of our 5-year forecast that I've seen in a while. And then also Ryan Pendleton, who's well-respected treasurer out of Akron, but his organization came in and also reviewed our 5-year forecast, and they basically arrived at some of the same conclusions that you're speaking of right now, Mrs. Rosnaya. So, you know, that's just to say that, you know, we're trying to take an objective look at things to make sure that we kind of understand what our trends are, you know, and where we're going. So, very insightful. I do appreciate the overview. One of the other pieces, as you mentioned, the fair funding model that's currently in place right now. Myself, actually, Mr. Aho, and also Mrs. Powers were instrumental in, you know, working with lawmakers, probably well over a year, maybe almost 2 years, to get that fair funding model in place. Prior to that, we were a capped district, and for many years. And so what that means is that, you know, regardless of what our enrollment is, you know, we were capped at a certain amount of money that we could receive on a yearly basis. And I believe when Mr. Aho was here, we were leaving almost $4 million on the table every year that we should have gotten in revenue that we didn't. The fair funding model has kind of changed that, but the problem is that needs to be phased in over 5 years. The other problem with the fair funding model is that every biennium we got to haggle with the General Assembly for them to keep that in the legislation to allow us to continue to, receive those funds. And so we're actually marching into another General Assembly where we got to go and lobby and make sure that our lawmakers are cognizant of how we're impacted by those dollars. But even that, those dollars don't replenish. They don't come anywhere close to what we've lost in the tangible personal property tax. So I just wanted to make sure that we made mention of that. And then last but not least, the cumulative effect of losing the tangible personal property tax, as I remember from the first organization that looked at our 5-year forecast, it was upwards of over $20 million. $28 million. That has been gradually kind of siphoned off that we were getting that we are no longer getting. So, and again, I know you've mentioned it, Mrs. Rasnai, it's had a devastating impact on our cash balance. And then the other piece, and I know, Mrs. Davis, you kind of brought this up with ESSER. I think we've tried to leverage the ESSER dollars as much as possible so that we, don't have to spend the general fund, but it's one-time money. And so those are going to run out in a couple of years, and it's kind of sets the stage in terms of where we are right now.
Mr. Curtis, thank you. Hit about 5 of the points I was going to say. But I'm going to provide a little bit of historical perspective and then kind of go up to forefront. But in the current term, we have had 4 separate treasurer organizations review. Nothing that we've heard tonight is a surprise. And, Mrs. Rosnai, your numbers are not, wildly different than the other ones have been telling us. Nearly a decade ago, this district went through an operational change plan, and the community, at the end of the day, community makes a choice on the schools that they want. That was difficult times. That was before any of us sitting up here were on the board, but we adopted it, or I should say it became reality for Mrs. Davis and myself, and those that were elected at that time, to try to stay within the spirit of the operational change plan. That was difficult. There was cuts, there was new money, and such, and there was a promise at that time by the previous board not to come back for new money for 5 years, and that promise was kept by the next board that Mrs. Davis and I sat on, but yet it's a vicious levy cycle. We had to come back. The revenues have been flat. Again, there's no surprise here. The $28 million for TPP, we had, kind of as we were the new ones on the board, high hopes for legislation and working and lobbying, and the 614 other districts in Ohio did the same with all the alliances, and nothing changed. They basically turned the TPP into cat tax and said, "Don't worry, we'll make you whole," and the state never made us whole. We were always criticized, why do you carry a cash balance, for a rainy day fund? COVID wasn't a rainy day. COVID was a monsoon. And, I'm proud that we didn't lose a single student or a single staff member during that time. That was very difficult. A lot of decisions were being made. And now we're seeing, the same inflation that every single one of us, live under. Again, the community is going to make the decision, as they did recently, on a renewal levy, and I think oftentimes, people don't realize that's not new money. That is just barely keeping us in operation. And again, these numbers are not a surprise. These were what were forecasted 10 years ago. And Mr. Aho would always have a graphic kind of pushing that clock back. Originally, if operational change plan didn't happen, the numbers that you saw tonight would have been 2013, if I'm not mistaken. We would have been in fiscal crisis in 2013. Changes were made, decisions have been made over the last decade with, again, flat revenues. And here we are again, the same numbers, pushing it back, but with COVID and the added expense and the same inflation that everybody else is running at, with revenue growth, what was it, barely under 1%, but inflation at 3.5%. That's why we're upside down. Again, it's never been a surprise. We knew this was going to happen. We pushed that line back as far as we can. Again, it was 13, then it was 17, and then we were going to be out of money in 20. And we just keep pushing it back. But if you look at these numbers, it's no surprise that cash balance is dropping like a rock. And I keep mentioning the community. The community is going to have to make a choice on what they want in their schools, in their buildings. We were all looking at new buildings when COVID hit. Maybe that was a blessing that we didn't build at that time, because we learned a lot of things that we didn't know we could do in COVID that probably would have changed the complete architectural structure of what we're looking at. But for the community, this should be no surprise. We've been fighting this battle. We gave up on the TPP years ago. It was going nowhere. There was no alliance, no lobbyists, no folks that could change the ever-changing state legislators to turn that back around. 28 million is a lot for a district of 50-some million operating. That's a lot of money to lose. So the community is going to have to make a decision. We mentioned this many times over the past year. Marty raised the warning flag a while back, and I agreed. I said, yes, there is no doubt, and we told the community, we're going to need new money. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. The only way schools are funded are property taxes. We don't like it. It's been unconstitutional 4 times in 30-some years. Unconstitutional the way schools are funded in Ohio. But we can't control that. We can't control what the legislators do. So all we can do is live within this and start making choices. And the community has always supported the schools. Not everybody likes the choices that we have to make, but the choices are going to be tough moving forward. It's what the numbers are. If it was one treasurer, it might say, oh, maybe the assumptions are this or that. But we have now had 4 separate organizations look at these numbers and give us the same. And these are pretty credentialed treasurers, as well as 20 years of clean audits that Marty had. Auditors aren't finding anything wrong. They're just saying these are the numbers. So kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but these are the numbers. We're going to have to learn to live with them. We're going to need new money. It's not a surprise. We mentioned it at the community forums a couple months ago. We've mentioned it from this dais many times. So that's unfortunately the reality. So don't worry, we don't shoot the messenger. Welcome to Twinsburg. Unfortunately, every other district, is facing similar things. Many districts are not as fortunate to pass even renewals. I saw that in other districts, neighbors that we have here. So in one sense, we're very, very thankful. So I think I've exhausted every financial element if I can think of everything I wrote down. You mentioned everything, but it all started with the operational change plan. There was some heavy lifting. There was some new money then there 5 years later. We just can't push this line back anymore. The only way to push the line back is new money or deep cuts. You can't do one without the other. Those are the typical decisions, unfortunately, that we're going to be put in.
Well, and just a point to be made with respect to the new money. I mean, there were some promises that were made with respect to what would come with new money, and we were able to do that. Chromebooks, we were able to do that.
I was going to say that was a tremendous foresight.
Yeah.
I remember March 13th, Friday, emergency board meeting at 6 p.m. When we were making those decisions, and we can take the Chromebooks off the carts, we could send them home with the students. We didn't even know what was coming. The fact that the community had supported, it was the 6.9 mil, and Chromebooks came with that, and we're trying to do 21st century learning, and COVID just slapped us around, but at the same time, look what we were able to do. Every kid was able to, stand. Nobody liked being online. We'd rather than be in schools, but at least we're lucky. I don't think that was any kind of foresight or COVID foresight, but it made a big difference in the students' lives.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention that as one point. The other piece, and this is something that Marty would always point out as well, is with these dollars, we invest heavily in students, whether that be human resources, whether that be technology, whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is that's where the investment goes. And our spending per pupil, in spite of our rising expenses, the spending per pupil was less than the state average and also less than districts like us, surrounding districts. That information can be found in the CUP report that's on the state website. But we've consistently kind of kept our costs down, at least what we spend per pupil down, while at the same time delivering, high quality instruction, technology, programming, curriculum. I mean, that's what education is all about. And the other piece is that I want to echo with what Mrs. Rasnaya said. We're a people business. So the vast majority, over 80%, of our budget is made up of people. And you can't run a school district without critical people, in critical positions that are able to kind of do the things that they need to do for the district to operate. And so that's going to continue to be the case. Otherwise, I don't know that we would be effective as a school district. In the eyes of the state of Ohio, Twinsburg is looked at as a wealthy district. I think if you look at our demographics, I would beg to differ. We're pretty mixed, we're pretty diverse. But in the eyes of the state, looking at it through the fiscal lens that they look at it through in the budget office, we're considered a wealthy district, which is why the amount of money that we get per pupil is much less than a lot of districts around us, say in Cuyahoga County. They receive 3, 4, 5 times as much per pupil that we get, and so that's why the overwhelming majority of the revenue that is generated is through local property taxes. The vast majority of the burden is on the taxpayer. So, in a nutshell, that's I just want to sum it up in terms of kind of what we're doing, what we have done over the years. I think Rob has done a nice job of kind of doing a walk back, a look back with the operational change plan.
We were always pushing that line. And
Yeah, no, we were always, I
I know this is an ORC requirement to do this.
Yeah.
Am I correct in the first level fiscal warning that we're going to receive once this is filed?
We should expect that in December after this is filed.
Okay, so once the auditor state sees this, the bottom line is they're going to say, what's your plan, correct?
Correct.
And the first term is it fiscal watch or is it fiscal warning?
Caution.
First, fiscal caution. And we've been looking at this line for a while. So that's unfortunately the reality of it. If it moves beyond that, we never want to get to the point where the state takes over the schools. That's not who Twinsburg is. And we'll do everything we can to keep that from happening, but there's some very difficult times ahead.
I don't have any more questions or comments.
Thank you.
I guess in historical perspective, it was more than 12 years ago that then President Ron Stuber was very eloquent in his presentations to the community regarding TPP and the reduction in that. And as you know, we have been at Columbus, we have advocated on behalf of the school district, as have other Alliance school districts, and we are a part of that group. Unfortunately, given the climate in the state, when you're talking about school funding, those of us who advocated for districts like Twinsburg did not get the favorable legislation, and so we have now this phase out, which is it's $24 million over time. And so this is almost like revisiting where we were when I first got here in 2011. We've hit a point where we have to now begin to think about reductions. We reduced $2.3 million in expenditure the first year I was here. Wasn't a good time in Twinsburg. It was a lot of hard work. We engaged the community in community forums. We talked about where the low-hanging fruit is here in our community, what we can do to reduce expenditures. We talked about reducing staff. And I have to tell you, that is the hardest thing that you will ever do as a superintendent, is to sit across the table and tell somebody, I'm sorry for nothing that you've done, but we just can't afford your position. That was a terrible time in our school district, but thankfully the community rallied around the district, passed the new money issue. We've instituted things like pay to participate, things that help ease on some of the stress in the budget, and we were able to move forward. But I think with what Mrs. Rosnaya is presenting tonight, it is almost as if we are back in that place in time, and as a school community we have to look hard at what we can do to reduce expenditures and put into place other revenue streams if possible. You know, the ESSER dollars have been a godsend. We were able to operate, we were able to provide additional supports for our children. I can tell you, Board, I'm very concerned about next year. We put a lot of safety nets into place for our students. Many of our students are dealing with significant social emotional situations. When those ESSER dollars are no longer available, what are we going to do to backfill? I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about the fact that once those dollars move out, all the interventions that we've put into place, virtually the board does not have the revenue to support that. What is going to happen? And I think we are going to have to make some hard decisions here, always, of course, keeping the children front and center, but the kids of today are different than they were in 2011 and 12. They have lived through a pandemic, as have we all, and they have not come back to us in the same place as they left. My primary school students are really struggling. My third graders, second graders, whose early years of learning were disrupted not by anybody's fault, but because of the course of the pandemic. And so when we're looking at potential reductions, and when I look at these numbers, I think of almost $3 million. What are we supposed to cut? Can't cut intervention programs, right? Where does this go? And so what I would suggest, Board, and I thank Mrs. Rosnaya for her presentation this evening, I think we have to begin to engage the community once again, to talk about where we need to go with possible reductions, what the community can support with reductions, and then of course look at other revenues, continue to advocate at the state legislative level. I was in communication with Columbus today regarding this very matter. And it's just hard work, and not work that we can't get through, that we won't do together. But it's hard work, and when you have to decide what to cut, we are not a very over-the-top school district with staff. We're a lean machine. We've been lean since 2011 and 12. We've stayed there. We've had additional staff members because of ESSER dollars, but those staff members will go away at the end of this year. That was our commitment to you, the board, and to our community, to fill those positions where we needed them, using those ESSER dollars. When those dollars disappear, the staff members will not be here. What are we going to do for intervention supports for our students? So some hard conversations to be had. It's almost as if we're reliving the 2011-12
You remind me of legislative conversations, and I won't name senators or representatives that basically said, well, that was legislators before us, suck it up. I mean, that's basically what one of the representatives told me. He goes, we didn't legislate that. That was the people before us. You knew this was coming for 10 years. I mean, that's what they told us then, and we've seen how much lack of support we've had from the state for the last 10 years.
I remember those community forums, probably about at least 2 years, about 2 years before you and I got on board, and those were very well attended, and there were certain non-negotiables. Mr. Stuber presented a bunch of things, or a bunch of items for the community to think about, and some were just completely non-negotiable. Saying he talked about all-day kindergarten being cut, or having to pay for kindergarten like some other districts. And
I remember being one of those fired up parents because my kid was about to start kindergarten, and then there were things that he presented. I remember we had to rate things like what we would accept and tolerate, and what was just absolutely non-negotiable. I don't know what that would look like today with the residents, or what they'd be willing to, but it was a just tough even attending and hearing that, and as I said, being one of those fired up parents, and it's just now it looks like, you know, kind of that's where we're heading, is asking the opinion of the community. And I don't, like I said, that operational change, even there were things that as a parent I didn't agree with and I got to understand as I got on board, but it was still, you know, it was still very tough.
It doesn't change the fact that the last hour and a half or so that we're talking, the buildings have gotten older, and they continue to get older. And I'll just say it here publicly, we can't put a shovel in the ground and then not be able to operate our district. And that's my opinion. We can't build first and then hope for operating the money later. I've shared my opinion with the board. That's unfortunately the reality that we're at. We know the conditions of the buildings. We've seen the studies. We're doing the best we can with a very small, tangible, property. Yeah, permanent improvement. Too many TPPs and PC. Permanent improvement. You know, that hasn't been increased, I don't know, 10, 12 years, whatever. I mean, $2 million and doesn't go very far when you're maintaining 6 facilities in age. But, you know, and we put the operating level, the renewal on, because you don't skip an opportunity for a renewal for $5 million that we would get, you know, and you can still, even with the renewal, the numbers are, you know, we weren't expecting the numbers to change. If anybody thought that the levy was going to change these numbers, they're not. We knew that we had to, you know, we can't give up, you know, 10% of our operating, you know, and then go for something else. So it's the reality of what's been coming for a long time.
I want to go back to something that Mrs. Powers said. In the work that I do, I have 8 to 10 school districts right now that I pull testing data and work with teachers. The reality is, whether a district looks like us or a district is more urban, I will tell you straight up, I am extremely concerned about the academic achievement of our primary grade children. Our current 3rd graders are struggling. It's very sad, but our current 6th graders are test scores across the board. I don't care what kind of district I'm looking at, the current 6th graders are struggling. They went out at the end of 3rd grade. They lost multiplication. They lost fractions. And now they're in 6th grade, and they're expected to change fractions to decimals and then decimals to percentages, and they are struggling because they don't know their multiplication tables well enough to do that like this. Without those supports in place, our children have more benefits than a lot of kids that I get to look at, but it's a struggle, and I would be very, very concerned as the ESSER money goes out of where our children are going to be in their academics as they then move in, and you have to think long range in that. They have to pass Algebra 2 to graduate. And I'm struggling watching children struggle with 6th grade math. And I'm looking forward into how, if we don't do those interventions now, will they pass the high school math programs that the state is imposing upon them to graduate from school. So, I mean, it's I hear the dollars, and I understand the dollars, that the work that I do deals with the children and the academics, and I'm very worried for our young people of today and where they're going as they're going to go up the ladder in their education. It's not just Twinsburg, but we're part of that, and they lost critical instruction during COVID.
Any other questions or comments?
I
appreciate the feedback and the discussion as I'm learning more about the district history. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rosnaya. Okay, we'll move on to remonstrance. I think we do have blue cards, Mrs. Rosnaya. Okay. Since we do have a couple of blue cards for remonstrance, I will read the rules around remonstrance. Persons wishing to address the Board of Education should submit a blue card found in the lobby to the treasurer prior to the meeting so they can be recognized by the board president and welcomed to make comment. No formal action will be taken on subjects that are not included on this agenda until the board has had an opportunity to study them. Comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing to the office of the superintendent. Although there is normal adequate time for citizens to express themselves at a board meeting, if several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 5 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. Each person addressing the board is asked to give his or her name and address. So I'll call first person up, Kelly Zimmerman.
Good evening, Twinsburg Board of Education, Mrs. Powers, Mr. Strickland, Mrs. Rosenall, sorry if I mispronounced your name. My name is Kelly Zimmerman. I've been an employee at Twinsburg City Schools for 18 years. I've worked at the high school at the front desk as an administrative assistant, and I'm also the district registrar. Tonight I am here to read a letter from an alumni who was unable to attend tonight's meeting because he is a student at the University of Cincinnati.
Okay, hold on. I will have to stop you for 1 second, Ms. Zimmerman.
Mhm.
If you're going to read a letter, we'll still need the name and.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Yep. And I do in my intro, he does give permission for his letter to be read. Okay. I, Ison Calhoun, authorize this statement to be delivered on my behalf. My name is Ison Calhoun. I am a proud graduate of Twinsburg High School, class of 2021. I'm writing this letter to support the 200 classified staff members within the Twinsburg City School District who are currently negotiating a new contract. It's with absolute certainty and conviction that my experiences as a student in the Twinsburg City School District were foundational to my continued success as a student and an individual. As a student, every one of my teachers, counselors, and advisors inspired me to explore my interests. Their wisdom propelled me to make educated decisions regarding the direction I wanted to take in the early stages of my career and life. Nevertheless, I would be remiss without mentioning the selfless contributions the classified support staff make to the district daily to ensure that the Twinsburg City School District can uphold a reputation of excellence. Above all, their foundational work allows the district to operate seamlessly and effectively. Their work allows countless students like me a few years ago to pursue their interest. To that end, these staff members often willingly go above their routine responsibilities to support, encourage, and advise students in ways other educators aren't able to. Whether it may be coaching a sports team, advising an extracurricular organization, or taking extra time out of their day to learn why a student was running late. The classified support staff is loyal to the growth of the district's students. They watch firsthand students flourish and grow from timid ninth graders at THS to confident, self-assured, poised young adults. Despite all their devout work for the district, they simply aren't compensated enough. Looking in from the outside, it also appears that members of the classified support staff aren't earning significant raises despite the length of their tenure. Consequently, drastic increases in daily expenses in the past few years forcefully affected these staff members. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, consumer prices have increased by 9.1% in the year ending in June 2022. This percentage represents the highest increase in prices in over 40 years. Additionally, I've discovered that if the salaries they obtain were their sole source of income, many of these staff members would fall below the federal poverty level. These findings were shocking to me. While I was a student, the Twinsburg City School District has always prided itself in excellence, growth, and functioning in tandem with the community. With that said, I ask why these crucial members of our district aren't rewarded adequately for what they do in the first place. Without such a high quality of staff performing these jobs, I'd argue that the district's reputation would be drastically damaged. These staff members are the engine that drives the school district. In countless regards, their jobs are foundational to what results in student growth at its base. As I analyze the situation as a THS graduate, I realize that when organizational leaders genuinely value team members for their collective contributions, they thrive. On the contrary, I believe that when an organization rewards achievement solely based on individual results and minuscule metrics, it isn't. As many community members know, the Issue 7 renewal levy passed by a vast margin this past election day. I am hopeful the Board of Education will use a portion of these funds to allow the support staff to bring home fair wages for their years of dedication and service to our community. As previously mentioned, I'm forever indebted to the level of education that I received as a student at the Twinsburg City School District. As a zealous advocate for public education, I offer the following suggestions for the board to consider to ensure that future students can continue to thrive. Provide fair wages for support staff in the Twinsburg City School District. Properly allocate existing and newly acquired funds from the levy for fair and equitable salary increases. Reevaluate current district spending and budgets to ensure classified staff is fairly compensated. With gratitude and admiration, Ison A. Calhoun, 2021, class of 2021 THS. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Next, I would like to invite Chardon Rankin.
Good evening, Ms. Powers and the Board of Education. My name is Chardon Rankin. I'm at 2146 Oxford Street. I'm here tonight, listening to all of the dismal sounds of the 5-year forecast for the district and thinking about where we're looking at where we are financially in 5 years. Imagine these support staff people and where they are. Inflation has impacted all of us. It's impacting the district. You all see that the money's drying up, the pandemic. So imagine if you haven't had a change in pay in 5 years, but your grocery cost has doubled. Imagine that my child, who has been without a bus driver all year, who is fortunate enough that I can take him to school in the morning. His bus is late in the morning, it's late in the afternoon, but he was missing at least 50 minutes of education, and his first class was ELA. Without that bus driver and without the support of me, my child is losing valuable education time. When I have a problem in the district, it's the support staff that I see first, normally not the teacher. I seen the bus driver, and I'm going to make reference to Miss Linda. She changed the route for my daughter and another girl. It was not just my daughter, but somebody else. Because my daughter gets on a bus stop by herself, not in the morning because I will stand down there, but when she gets off, she goes home by herself. Anything could happen to a little girl, whether it's one house, two houses, or three houses. And she noticed that. And that's the level of commitment that you have from your support staff. Although they do these invisible jobs, we know that without them, this foundation of a district will crumble. They are the wheels, the backbones to what we do, to what you do, to what we as parents do. They are your first line of defense when you have that parent who comes in irate. They are your first line of defense when something jumps off on the bus first thing in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. They are your first line of defense. They keep you going. I was thoroughly shocked when, by far, I was at the board meeting 2 times, not for this, but because my kids were involved in board meetings, to hear that they have been negotiating a salary for, or working without a salary since the summer. I really hope, and I understand the financial constraints that you all are facing, that when we take into consideration, our support staff matters. They are the foundation to what we do. They get our kids to school safely. They clean up when our kids are sick. They answer phones for us. They get us paperwork that we need. Please consider giving them a fair wage, because just like the district, everybody is facing financial hardship, and it matters. No one working in the Twinsburg City School District, and I hear that we're going to ask for a levy. I hear that I pay school fees. I pay for all the extracurricular activities, and inflation has not helped. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone who makes less money than I do. Please consider and remember that they matter, and they are instrumental to what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchard. Thank you very much. So that concludes our portion of the meeting for remonstrance. Again, I appreciate that you're all here. And she made the comment that your jobs were invisible. I couldn't disagree more. I just don't feel that way. We are negotiating. We'll continue to do that in good faith, and we appreciate your comments. We appreciate you coming out and expressing the concerns that you have. Thank you. I'll wait for Mrs. Crawford to return so that we can resume. Okay. So we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Items H1 and 2. Resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves and adopts the Twinsburg City School District 5-year forecast and assumptions for school years 22 through 26 as prescribed by the Ohio Revised Code 5705.391 and 5705.412. And 2, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the agreement with North Coast Shared Services Alliance, 6393 Oak Tree Boulevard, Independence, Ohio, 44131, to provide financial and strategic support and to make recommendations to the CFO and treasurer at a cost of up to $10,000 during the fiscal year 2023. This is a general fund expenditure as sent to the board under separate cover. Do I have a motion for items H1 and 2?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Travis. I'll give Mr. Felber the second. Any discussion? And hearing none, Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll? I'm sorry.
You want me to call him?
No, I just reverted back. I'm sorry. Been talking about Mr. Aho.
Call him if you want. But
Bringing out his name a few times just kind of. I apologize, Mrs. Rosnaya.
It's okay.
Wow, that just wow.
We have some really deep thoughts tonight.
Yeah.
We are in cloud thoughts.
Mrs. Rosnaya, would
No
you
problem.
please
I
call
will.
the roll?
Yes, I will. Mrs. Travis,
Yes.
Mr. Falbar,
yes.
Mrs. Crawford,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis.
Yes, and that motion carries 5-0. Next is item I, action items and personnel. Without objection, I'll read them together. Items I-1, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. 2, that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And 3, that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the supplemental contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Do I have a motion for action items I-1 through 3?
So
So moved by Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Crawford. Any discussion?
Travis.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Mrs. Travis.
No, night.
I'm just sitting over here.
I know. I'm just slipping. Discussion. Hearing none. Mrs. Rosnaya, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Travis,
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Falbar,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Would someone else like to do this?
You're doing great.
Okay. Let's try this again. Action items, new business. Without objection from my colleagues, I will read them together. J1 through 11. J1, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the attached listing of items to be deleted from inventory per the attached exhibit. 2, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves Police Officer Eric Sawyer to provide security at events for the 22-23 school year as needed at a rate of $41 per hour. 3, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves an agreement with Applewood Centers Incorporated for one student to attend Gerson School for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. Tuition cost is $39,026 per the contract sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expenditure. 4, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the service agreement with Education Alternatives, 5445 Smith Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44142 for one student to attend Education Alternatives Choral Autism Program, Ravenna, Ohio, location for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. Prepaid tuition is $29,210 as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expenditure. 5, that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopts a Title I parent involvement policy that was approved at the Title I meeting held on November 7th, 2022, as sent to the board under separate cover. 6, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the revised administrative salary schedule effective November 1, 2022 per the attached exhibit. 7, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves Ava O'Mara as a credential evaluator for the purpose of the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, OTES 2.0, for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. And 8, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves Sierra DeVille as a credential evaluator for the purpose of the Ohio School Counselor Evaluation System for the 22-23 school year. 9, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the reappointment of Mary Johnson as a trustee of the Twinsburg Public Library for a term of 7 years commencing January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2029. 10, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the invoice for payment with Colorado Time Systems 1551 East 11th Street, Loveland, Colorado 80537 in the amount of $29,000 for the district's portion of the cost of the new pool scoreboard at the Twinsburg Fitness Center. This is a general fund expenditure as sent to the board under separate cover. And 11, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the agreement with Matt Hoffman regarding the use of sick leave as sent to the board under separate cover. Do I have a motion for J 1 through 11? So moved by Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Travis. Any discussion?
Mr. Curtis, if I could just speak to number 10 on the agenda, having to do with the pool scoreboard at the fitness center. As you know, board, our swim team swims and practices and competes out of the fitness center. Several months ago, we were made aware by Mr. Burns, who oversees the aquatic program at the fitness center, that the life of the scoreboard has now passed. And so under the direction of city government, he was asked to contact us to see if the board would be interested in helping defray the cost of the new scoreboard. I understand that in addition to our kids swimming, there are other high schools who also swim, and they actually pay a significant fee to do that at the fitness center, because those districts are not, of course, part of our school community. And so this particular resolution would allow us to use dollars to support the purchase of the new scoreboard, so that when our students are competing there, they have the right timing device. And it is complicated in the sense that this particular company, Colorado Time Systems, there's a very limited number of companies that actually even have the product that we would need to be used at the fitness center. And this is the one that is being recommended by Mr. Burns and the folks over at Twinsburg Fitness Center.
So it's a shared expense.
Correct.
Appreciate that. Also with 9,
Yeah, Marty's not here to explain it.
no, you can go ahead, you do it.
You want me to call him?
No, you can do it.
Normally we turn to Marty, Mr. Resnick, and to explain this, but what a lot of times people don't realize is the school district is the fiscal agent for the library. It's just the way things are set up, probably back when the Wilcox twins were here. But that being said, so this is really just a pass through, to their request, and we see this oftentimes when they have trustees or their fiscal budget that has to get approved. That comes through us.
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Felber. Any other comments or questions?
Done being the historian for the day.
You are. Okay, hearing none, Mrs. Resnick, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Travis?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Favor?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, miscellaneous.
I'd like to throw out one comment. Coach Garber, having kids in the high school, I hear a lot of great things, and kids love teachers, and we heard today everyone gave a favorite teacher, but the comments from the students in general, my own child included, they learned a lot in Mr. Garber's government class. And for me to hear that as a social studies major myself, that I was very impressed with some of the things that when I was listening to the conversation, yes, I was snooping, in the conversation of the kids, the things that they were talking about, the content that they were learning. And so I know he got his accolades today as a coach, but I think also we have to remember that in his role, he's doing some great things with kids in classrooms based on what I'm hearing the children and themselves, the students themselves saying. So congratulating him on both ends, as the coach role that he plays, and also as the teacher that he's playing in the social studies department. It's pretty phenomenal.
And you know, I'm going to comment on what you said a bit too. It seems like from the coaches that my children have had for soccer, cross country, track, and I'm sure, you know, those are just the ones I've experienced. These coaches and who are teachers in our district have not only high expectations for the students in the sport that they're performing in, but they also really have high expectations of them in the classroom. And it certainly reflected at the sports banquet yesterday with all those students who had earned 3.5 or above. I mean, the stage got so crowded, they were going to try to keep everybody on stage, but they just couldn't, so they had to pull some out front, then they had to pull some in the back and send them back to their seats. There were so many students who received that 3.5 or above, and it's to attest that they really just have high expectations on and off the field, and in return, I think our students, our kids, really have truly respect their teachers and their coaches, and it just shows in our district.
I'll just like to add, I just want to thank Mrs. Wilson again for coming to Columbus for this the Student Achievement Fair. That's my favorite part of the conference, just because it's an opportunity for you to see so many different students in Ohio, and to see all the different things that they're doing. You can see their creativity, the amount of participation that they bring in, and just the different clubs that I wouldn't even think that they would have. So I enjoy walking around and looking at all the different schools and seeing them involved, and I really appreciate Ms. Wilson for coming out for that day and driving up, because there was a lot of different schools who were actually interested in what we were doing in Twinsburg.
No, just remark on the our student athletes are just amazing. I saw all the pictures and kind of write-ups for the fall sports banquet. I don't believe I've ever seen that many kids on the stage at one time. And we always have a really good showing, but it's just really impressive, what our student athletes are doing. And, I emphasize the word student athlete because they're achieving academically just as much as they are on whatever field they're competing on. So kudos goes out, to all of the coaches for all of our fall sports for really going above and beyond, and setting the bar high for our student athletes. The other piece is just we're heading into winter sports right now, so need the community to continue keep coming out and cheering our Tigers on. Looking forward to basketball season and hockey and the other sports and whatnot. So continue coming out to support our Tigers.
And I quickly mentioned, because I know you're a band parent, Leah, we were talking about sports just because they were just recognized yesterday too, and so that's fresh in my mind. But that doesn't take away from the band, the drama, the show choir. These students in these extracurriculars, they really, I don't know how they do it. They can balance school, they can balance work, and they balance their grades. And it's some of those students who put themselves out there and get involved. Sometimes you think, that's just a lot they're trying to take on, but somehow they manage to do it, and they keep their GPAs up, and they rise and shine on the occasion. So I didn't want to exclude any other groups, but we keep mentioning sports because they were just recognized. But you know the kind of kids who are in the programs that you've been involved with, and like I said, our high school, junior high, they set the bar high, and these kids reach and exceed it. So that's the last I'm commenting.
Any other?
Superintendent, if I could, Celeste, I wanted Dr. Walker just to say a brief commercial for this weekend. It's our first wellness weekend, and who better to explain it than Dr. Walker?
My commercial will be very brief if my computer will work on me. Hold on just 2 seconds. I'm sorry. I turned it off and I came up here. So as Mrs. Powers stated, we are going to have our very first wellness weekend. And that weekend actually was a conversation with our students. Basically at the end of 2019, the very top of 2020, I can't quite remember when, but it was with students on the Superintendent's Advisory Council. And they discussed prior to COVID that they knew that they needed a break. They said, we just need a break. We need some time away from the typical stress of just being a teenager, having sports, homework, all the things. So a lot of things came out of that superintendent's advisory that we actually see like in play today, which is so funny because it was cut short because of the pandemic. So we heard our students at that time, and we are looking to have this very intentional break for our students this weekend. And that's also not just for our students, but for our staff. And so the premise of this is just to have an intentional days of wellness. And we do it in between our sports seasons because we know most of our students will be, they won't be attending sports. You know, they just kind of have a lot of downtime where they're probably not traveling. And so all we're asking is that our students and our staff just are highly intentional about pausing and doing some wellness activities and whatever that looks like for that particular student. So for some people, that could be, you know, sleeping, which is like amazing, right? Like you just go to bed, go to sleep. Other people, it could mean like doing some activities. So like for myself, I'm going to a play on Saturday and I'm running a 5K on Sunday. That is what I plan on doing this weekend for my wellness weekend. So just so you know, we are going to put out some more information to our families, but essentially we just want our Tigers to have rest. And we feel like, I think we really downplay the importance of rest because we're such a multifaceted world and so many things are coming in. Like rest stimulates you. It brings back, you know, just the good things like, you know, just brain function, you know, just the simple things. And so what we are trying to do is be very intentional about not only active wellness, but just also taking a rest. And so we hope that our staff, our students, and our family really support this, and we'll have another one coming up in 2023, which will be at the break of our winter into spring sports. So thank you.
So does the pause mean no homework?
The pause will mean we're asking staff to not have homework. We're asking staff to not have tests on that Monday, just to try to give kids a break. Really, and I think it'd be nice for them too because they won't have to grade papers.
My kids' teachers, do you hear that? No,
but with it being new, we're hoping everybody really catches on and just really is intentional about taking a break. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, move on. We do have a need for executive session, so the board will enter into executive session at 9:17 to discuss employment and compensation of public employees as per Board of Education Policy 0166A, and to review negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms of employment as per Board of Education Policy 0166E. I will make the motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Rosnaya, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Fambon?
Yes.
Mrs. Travis?
Yes.
Okay, we are now in executive session. I do not anticipate that we will discuss further business once we reconvene.